Now I thought today I'd make up some rock cakes. Now the good thing about rock cakes, really simple to prepare. Don't take that long, probably 20 minutes in the oven. They're tasty. I mean, you've got lovely warm spices and you've got some fruit and they're just wonderful. And you know, they're quite cheap to make as well. So whether you're on a budget, you just want some really nice cakes, go and make rock cakes. So for making up these rock cakes, I'm just going to go through the ingredients I'm going to use. Now I've got it all laid out, all measured up. Now what I'm going to use is 175 grams of margarine. Now instead of margarine, you could use butter, same amount, leave it at room temperature so it's a little bit softer, it's easier to mix up. So 175 grams. 350 grams of plain flour. Now I've chosen to use plain flour, and what you need to do with that is to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder to the flour, and that will help the cakes to rise. Now as an alternative, you could use self-raising flour, 350 grams, and obviously just don't use the baking powder if you're using self-raising flour. 175 grams of sugar. Now I've chosen to use light muscovado sugar, which I think is really nice in these rock cakes, but obviously if you've got a different sugar you want to use, go and use what you like. 2 tablespoons of milk. Now the tablespoon is the big one, not the ones you use for your cups of tea, the big size one. So 2 of those of milk, and even with that milk, don't use any more, we may even just use a little bit less. 125 grams of mixed fruit. Now as an alternative to mixed fruit, you could use currants or you could use raisins, you know, whatever you like, but I think the mixed fruit's a nice one in the cakes. 1 large egg. Now with the egg, you need to just crack that into a bowl and whisk that up, and that's ready to use. Then we've got the spices. Now we've got half a teaspoon of this one, which is called mixed spice. Really nice warm spices in there, so half a teaspoon of that. Also half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Again, nutmeg, you can buy it ground already, but I tend to prefer to get the whole nut and then you just sort of grate it like a cheese grater. Probably about a quarter of one of those. So half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Obviously we mentioned the baking powder, which you only add if you're using plain flour, and that was 2 teaspoons. And then finally, we've got a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. So there's all the ingredients, nice simple ingredients. Now what I'm going to do is get myself a bowl and we're going to start making up this really lovely cake mixture. So we're going to get on and make this cake mixture. Now I've got myself a bowl and a sieve, because what I am going to do is to sieve the flour. So I'll just pop that in there. Might as well also, while we're at it, just pop the salt in there. And the baking powder. Now what we can do is just tap that from a little bit of a height, try and get a bit of air into the flour. Don't do it over the edge of the table, otherwise you'll have a mess on the floor. So just carry on until you've got that all sieved. There you go, just put those in there. Next of all, we're going to pop the sugar in there. And it's probably a good idea if you can just kind of mix that together. Try and get any lumps out of the sugar if you're using this sort of brown sugar. Just mix that around until you've got most of the lumps out of the sugar and it's all looking good. Now I've got most of the lumps, there might be the odd one, but I've pretty much got them all. Now what we're going to do next is just to add in the spices. That's it, get that all out. Again, just get that quickly combined. Right. And then what we can do is put in the margarine. I'm just going to put it in there. I mean, we want it to end up like breadcrumbs. What I'll probably do is just use my hands. So just break it up a little bit, get it in with the flour. Just keep working it a little bit until you get everything looking like breadcrumbs. So with that mixture, I've got mine looking like breadcrumbs. I did use 2 hands in the end and just rub it through your fingers, and eventually it starts to turn into breadcrumbs. So that's good. Now what we're going to do next is to add in the fruit. So just put in all that dried fruit there. And again, just combine that very quickly. And then we can go with the egg. Now with my egg, I just put it in a bowl and I was whisking it there, so just pour that in. Now what we can again do is just get the mixture, just try and scoop it round, try and get everything coated with that eggy mixture. And it'll probably just about start coming to a dough. If we need a little bit of milk, we can always add that. So just move that until you get like a doughy kind of mixture, and we'll add a little bit of milk if we need to. That's it. It's just coming together, but I will add just a little bit of milk. I must put that last bit in. So again, just move it around until it's got a nice doughy mixture. So just to show you, my mixture's come together, a nice doughy mixture. So that is ready to put on a baking tray, pop it in the oven. So it's a good time, switch your oven on, get that preheated. Now just switch my oven on, get it preheated. Now with this mixture, I'm going to use a couple of forks and I'm just going to, lay those over the baking tray. We're not going to put them in any sort of cupcake holders or anything like that. Now what I'd like to do first is just rub very quickly along the bottom with a little bit more of that margarine, a little bit of butter, not very much, just to help prevent them sticking. Now with that mixture, you can use, spoons, forks. I find forks are good because it gives it a little bit of a rough edge to it, and they are rock cakes, so try and get them a little bit like rocks if you can. That's it. So I'll just carry on and do that with all the rest. Just doing my final one, so I kind of used up the rest of the mixture like that. Keep that away from the others. Leave a little bit of space around them. So there we go. I've pretty much used my mixture. I got 10, but you could make them a little bit smaller. It's up to you. So what we're going to do is wait for the oven, to come up to heat, so it's preheated, and then we just place them in the oven, and then 20 minutes or so later, you've got beautiful tasting rock cakes. So I'm going to place the rock cakes into the oven. It's a preheated oven. I'll just put them there like that. Look at that. Look good already. Now shut up. Temperature wise, 200 degrees Celsius, which is 400 degrees Fahrenheit, gas mark 6. The cook time, roughly about 20 minutes. Keep an eye on them, don't let them burn, make sure they've got a nice golden brown colour on the outside, and they'll be, almost ready to serve up. So leave those cooking 200 degrees Celsius. Now I've had my rock cakes baking away in the oven for just over 20 minutes. I've actually left mine for 22 minutes. So look at them. Oh, they look good. They look good. Nice golden brown colour. Wonderful. Let's put those on the table because I reckon they're done. Now with the rock cakes, what I'm going to do is just leave them for a few minutes on the baking tray just to cool down a little bit, and then I'm going to transfer them onto a wire rack to cool down a little bit more, and then we can try one. Nice cup of tea, rock cakes, delish. Now I left me rock cakes on the wire rack probably about 10 minutes, couldn't wait any longer, and I've got myself a nice cup of tea. So I'm going to try one of these rock cakes. I'm just going to grab any one of those. Ooh, look at that, look at that. Let me just break this open so you can see what it's like. Look at that, lovely. Beautiful, let's just try that. It's delicious. You got a nice crunch when you bite into it, and it's soft and lovely inside, nice and warm, and the warm spices come through, and you got that mixed fruit. Oh, that is lovely. Not too sweet, just about right, and that just is a wonderful rock cake. So if you want to give these a go, they're not that expensive to make, really simple and tasty. Thanks for watching my videos. I'll see you on the next one. The original Naked Chef.